cause that came to my mind. The second is the fiscal space. I'm so glad the finance minister is gone, because I'm going to quote wrong numbers and he would have corrected me every step of the way. But broadly, I'm not talking about precision. I'm talking about strategic direction. We collect about 16 trillion, I think, 16 trillion rupees is the revenue. 8 to 8.5 goes to the provinces, 8 to 8.5 goes into debt servicing, and then even post-devolution, the federal government is spending 650 billion in protection and health and education, which is not our job. Nothing is left. How do you run a government? You have 16 total. I could be off, pardon me for that. 8 to 8.5 goes to provinces, 8 to 8.5 goes into debt, 650 goes into protection, out, zero remainder. So one is the fiscal structure and governance, and the other is the fiscal space. And we absolutely need to create this fiscal space if we want to make these solutions to these vulnerabilities real. Otherwise, it would just be another conference. The third issue is local bodies. The problems are localized. You've just identified district and tehsil level problems, and the allocations are federal and provincial. So if you're going to solve the district level problems, you need to empower the districts and local bodies to solve the problems that exist in those districts. This is common sense, but beyond common sense, just look at the span of control. One officer of the state can control how much? How many reports can you take in a day? How many allocations can you make in a day? How many decisions? How many transfers? How many policies? How can you make them when the administrative units do not empower local bodies? So the problems are local. The solutions have to be local. If you have to carry your local problem all the way to some headquarters, where if you're lucky, and you know every powerful man in the world, you'd get 15 minutes with the secretary. How are your problems going to get solved? We'll have to empower. We'll have to devolve. We'll have to empower the local bodies to make sure that the local solutions come forth. And it's not a complicated problem. I'm serious. I read the report and I said, where is that formula of physics that I don't understand? Some landing rover on Mars or something like that, which is problematic. What are we asking for? A dignified life? How complicated can a dignified life be? Our Prime Minister is committed to that dignified life. Our Prime Minister, when I walk up to him, he tells me just in one paragraph, he tells me what he expects from every minister in his cabinet. Dignified life. A person coming out, educated person coming out, educated person coming out, educated, getting a job. A job that allows for that person, women perhaps more, but definitely equal. Gives them an opportunity to send their kids to school. That's his vision. A job that allows them to take care of their ailing parents and grandparents, a hospital or a clinic or a preventive healthcare system that is right there at the doorsteps. And is decent enough for all of us to walk into it and make sure, or have confidence that our mothers, our fathers, our grandfathers, they're going to be treated with dignity and they're going to be treated well in the way of health. Just making sure that the village or the town or the city, vulnerable or not, where they're living is not going to get devastated, and no kid is going to look at his father with empty eyes, filled with fear. And an infrastructure that is decent infrastructure that allows for mobility, because mobility often is the economic opportunity for the poor. How difficult can this be? There's such a romantic single paragraph that informs the vision of our Prime Minister, the custody of which has been given to every minister, and we committed to it. I've given you the fiscal constraints, but those constraints do not stand in our way. We are not in the business, this government is not in the business of figuring out what can we do. This government is committed to figuring out what will it take. Nation building is a generational thing. You cannot be bogged down with your current realities and bring in consultants to figure out where can I put my next step. You have to imagine a country, and not a very complex. For God's sake, look at the vision that I've just put forward. This is the Prime Minister's vision. Is it complicated? Is there anyone in this room who thinks there's any complexity or complication to this? So just basic dignified life. So he is asking a different question. He is not asking, what can you do? When he calls us in a conference, he says, tell me what will it take and erect it for me. So we are committed. We are committed to building this story up. I mean, I can talk a little bit about climate as well, although this report attends to climate in a manner which I think needs a little bit more detailed kind of analysis. It's primarily about other vulnerabilities, and there's an overlay of climate, but climate is an overlay, but a very strong one. I think the report pays a lot of attention to some of the variables, some of which have decent correlations and some not. But having said that, what it doesn't cover, I mean, our vulnerability is not just the riverine floods. Our vulnerabilities come from the torrential rains and flash floods. Our vulnerabilities come from cyclones, the coastal kind of devastations. Our vulnerabilities come from this vertical rainfall that you so fondly call cloudbursts. Our vulnerabilities are coming from the changing patterns of monsoon. Our vulnerabilities, our agriculture. Our agriculture is not just the employment or the GDP, it's the food security. So our vulnerabilities and their solutions are multifaceted, and we need to take a multifaceted approach to put our arms around it so that we can move forward in that vision of a decent life. I can lay out strategies. I mean, I'm not here to talk about climate, I'm here to talk about the reports, but at the highest level, let me tell you that we are going to, in the next 200 days, the plan that we're going to, if the Prime Minister approves it, he's very rigorous, he continues to send you back to the drawing board. We're going to fix what has been devastated by these floods in 200 days. We're going to expand the resilient infrastructure, which is already ongoing, in phase 2, which is going to be 1 to 3 years. And in 3 to 5 years, we're going to build a completely new infrastructure. So fix what is broken, expand what you have, and build new are the short, medium, and long term. And long is not very long, it's just 5 years. This is our strategy. And I can sit with you and I can give you every initiative that we're laying out, every program under the initiative that we're laying down to make sure that we are resilient in 5 years. We also have come up with another strategy. We've looked at climate from 3 lenses. First, we look at all the areas where the public rate of returns are very high. And we're going to build, and we're committed to building a world-class capacity to put together plans and projects and programs that are at 95th percentile of where the global funding is coming from. Whether we get funding or not is another issue, because the geopolitics is changing, and I'm not going to comment on it. The multilateral funding is going down, the geopolitics is changing, unilateralism, bilateralism is kicking in. Everyone is fondly beginning to talk about, and so fondly beginning to talk about blended finance and repurposed loans. You know what repurposed loan is? Repurposed loan is the money that was dedicated to education being taken away from education and put into building up roads and things that have been devastated. You know what repurposed loan is? Repurposed loan is the money that was dedicated to healthcare, taken away from healthcare, and put into the devastations of floods. That's repurposed loan. So you're telling the developing countries of the world to take the money, choke the money away from health and education, and basically you're saying you're on your own. And a country where I just told you 8.5 trillion is going into debt servicing, repurposed loan means more loan and less fiscal space. So that's basically a different story. So we'll fight that battle internationally and globally wherever we stand. But today is not the forum, a global forum. This is about us and our districts and our vulnerabilities. So where the public rate of returns are low, we are going to build a world-class team at the Ministry of Climate Change so that every proposal that we put together is at 97th percentile across the world in terms of our ability to put our case together to do the drawdowns where the private rate of returns are low. In the areas where private rate of returns are high, which means people can do climate things that are climate, and make money. I'd give you 2 examples. These are two of my favorite examples. In the year 1970s and 80s, Finland was a forest. In around 1980s and 90s, they came up with the world's highest standards of environment, highest environmental standards. And by the year 2004, when I studied their innovation ecology, 1/3 of the world's environmental technology was being exported by Finland because they had technologies that did not exist anywhere else in the world. Same thing happened more recently, 10 to 12 years ago. The 2 worst cities in the world with poorest air quality were not Delhi and Lahore. They were Shanghai and Beijing. And right now they export 70% of the world's solar technology, 70, not